The face on Mars, well, it's part of a city-wide complex. JPL knows about it, so NASA knows about it. They've got pics of it. They did remote viewing sessions on it under Project Stargate. And the best part is, the face on Mars isn't even the cool part. There's a 20-kilometre high pyramid. So forget everything you were ever taught. There was a Martian race hundreds of thousands of years ago who fled the planet as its atmosphere was being ripped off, probably by the fifth planet that was crossing its path, so they blew it up. And those Martians were tall, giants, and they're our relations.
Next time I'm in California, I'm going to JPL and get my own copies of the pictures. That's the kind of guy I am.
Of the coordinates?
Yeah, and my feeling was, hey, my taxes take these pictures, so they're going to give them to me or explain why not. So I had the actual card the coordinates were written on. So I drove over to JPL and I went in the room where they have all the photographs and stuff. And he said, how can I help you, the guy at the desk? I said, I'm looking for pictures of these coordinates and I want copies of the original negatives. And he just looked at the card and he said, oh, that's the old city on Mars. And he turned around and pulled a drawer open and gave me a packet. That's how hard it was.
Get out of here.
And I actually saw what I had described, and it was like, whoa, wow.
That's incredible.
It's very cool.
This is the actual target based on the coordinates. That's the face everybody's always referring to on Mars. This is actually the depressed area. This is the pyramid. It's actually a double-layered pyramid. This is the second set of coordinates that I got. Now what's really interesting about this particular pyramid, you notice it's sitting on the side of the impact crater. And that's a real trick, because that means the pyramid had to be put there after the impact crater. Because if the impact crater hit after the pyramid was there, it would have destroyed the pyramid. The other interesting thing about this picture is you can measure the shadow of the crater, and based on the angle of the sun, you can estimate the size of the crater wall as being 3,000 meters tall. That's a 20,000 meter tall pyramid. Pretty big, huh?
People who say it's a natural thing, not possible. The shadow goes out to about here.
That's very tall.
Isn't that interesting?
And that's 3,000 feet.
Yeah.
This one, that's pretty incredible.
And then this is the old fort. Of course, that's the face. We didn't do the face, but that's a building.
And here's an even more interesting fact. There's the road in, there's the road out. I just find these really remarkable pictures.
Here's an awesome story courtesy of Cozy Coffee. Joe Mcmoneagle is the Stargate remote viewer from my JPL Mars face video made last week. Joe Mcmoneagle is very, very famous for remote viewing in Japan. There were two Japanese family bloodlines arguing over inheritance. One family claimed the legendary first woman empress of Japan, Empress Jingu, was real. The other said her existence was a myth, meaning they had birthright. Empress Jingu was removed from history in the 14th century, seen as at best an empress consort. She was removed as they wanted a male-only bloodline of rulers. There's very little recorded about her, except for the time she visited China during turmoil between the two countries. She won them over and established peace. She was loved and respected. She took on career in battle and she was a fierce leader. Now, the Japanese government decided to hire Joe Mcmoneagle to remote view and locate her tomb, thereby proving she was not a myth and real. He met with the executive and was unflinching at something they said, which showed to them that he had the soul of a great warrior, a samurai. So he remote viewed the tomb from his home in the US. He described the layout of the land, the coastlines, mountains and hills, a field, all juxtaposed in a specific way. Japanese found the exact spot on the map, and Joe Mcmoneagle met them there to see what they could find. What a great adventure. Now, the tomb was located at the edge of a farmer's field, intact, but overgrown. They found steps, columns, a gate. They found the tomb of the mythical empress. The Japanese were overjoyed to learn their legend was true. Joe knew that as empress, she must have a temple. So I remote viewed that and found it on a Japanese fishing island. He went there and spoke with the locals. He knew about the temple. They didn't realise what it was, and they were able to bring him to it. The Japanese wrote books and articles about all of this, and Joe Mcmoneagle became famous and beloved. He and his wife were recognised everywhere they went. One time, while riding the subway, the Japanese women began covering their mouths to humbly hide their smiles, but were also telling each other who he was. Astonishingly, the Japanese on the subway cleared 3 feet of space around Joe and his wife as a gesture of deep respect. He and his wife were very humbled by the gesture on the subway. Now, side note, Cozy Coffee goes on to say, in line with my Japanese videos on here, that Trump and Abe took down the Japanese royal family for being scammers in 2017. It's why Princess Mako gave up her title, a public display to save face, when really they had no right to the throne. Their network was removed from ruling Japan. The bloodline to Empress Jingu was, in fact, a satanic cult. The temple of the Empress was on a hill, as is true of most satanic temples. They put them on a hill so people can see and hear the murder and the torture being done. The satanic cult was in control of Japan. People hate these facts with a burning passion, hence why the Japanese Empress was remembered for her true heroic traits, but none of her satanic ones. They're all ignored. And this constant turning a blind eye to the hidden satanic cults is the reason the world is still in the middle of a planetary genocide like right now.